Chosen one, they auctioned your power. Before you knew it, your name was whispered behind closed doors, talked about at tables, discussed in secret agreements. The moment they felt your presence, your influence, they realized they had to change something. But how? They cannot silence you. They can't buy you. They can't control you. So they found another way. They auctioned off your power. Your essence, your light, your uniqueness has become the most valuable material in their game. Who will bid the most? Who will go around you and offer you the most attractive offer? Who will utilize your energy and save their own system? This is the great secret that is going on in the midst of chaos. They are after you, but they will never say it openly, because they know that your soul is not negotiable. Now the game is changing, because this auction is a false illusion. Your power, your chosenness, your truth is not a commodity that can be sold at auction. They think they need you, but the truth is, you are not dependent on anyone. On the contrary, they need you. And when you realize this truth, their throne will be shaken. The order they have established will collapse. Now ask yourself by writing 77 in the comments, is their offer more valuable or your divine power? A storm has been brewing in the halls of power, a quiet but ruthless scramble among those who once dismissed what they now covet. The very people who overlooked, doubted, and even ridiculed have turned into restless seekers, maneuvering behind closed doors for the privilege of proximity. There is no longer a question of whether you belong. Now, it's a matter of who will claim the closest seat. In whispered conversations and discreet negotiations, they weigh their options, assessing what must be sacrificed to secure an alliance. The irony is lost on none of them. Once indifferent, they are now in silent competition, not for dominance, but for access. Yet not all invitations are accepted, and not all pursuits are welcome. What was assumed to be a predictable path has defied expectation. The familiar methods of persuasion, status, wealth, exclusivity, fall flat against an unwavering presence that neither bows nor seeks approval. The miscalculation is glaring. They believed recognition alone would be an irresistible lure, that the mere act of acknowledgement would suffice. But the rules they have written do not govern here, and the allure of power is no longer in their hands. While they strategize, another force emerges, equally powerful, yet unbound by their constraints. The stage they thought they controlled is slipping from their grasp. Beneath the surface, a quiet struggle intensifies. The absence of open declarations does not mean inactivity. Rather, it signals a battle of precision, where influence is wielded in subtle, unspoken ways. Names circulate in hidden corridors, weighed and measured not as mere individuals, but as forces to be reckoned with. Those who once dictated the tide now find themselves chasing its currents, analyzing and adjusting, yet always a step behind. Every movement, every pause, every refusal sends ripples through a system unaccustomed to uncertainty. The realization is undeniable. Power is not taken. It is drawn to those who do not need to seek it. What cannot be predicted cannot be controlled, and what cannot be controlled becomes an obsession. The search for explanation leads to endless speculation, each theory failing to capture the essence of what makes this moment different. The expectation was alignment, submission, an eagerness to conform to long-established structures. Yet the opposite unfolds. A presence that stands unmoved is far more unsettling than one that resists. It is the unshaken certainty, the quiet defiance of expectation that upends everything. And so, the stakes are raised. The whispers turn into offers, and the offers turn into demands. What was once discreet must now be bold. A move must be made, a risk taken, a statement issued. An invitation appears, crafted with precision, a proposition designed to be irresistible. It is not an offering, it is a claim. And yet the response it receives is neither gratitude nor haste. The silence that follows is not hesitation, it is control. If you feel the abundance of divine love in your heart, now is the time to share it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the Super Thank You button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. This divine gift will touch not only your life, but the souls of many through this platform. Each of you has a sacred place in God's grand design, and your generosity will be the fruit of our prayers. Act now. Share your blessings to glorify His kingdom, for you were created to do even greater things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. The moment arrives when the ground beneath them begins to shift. They are accustomed to being pursued, to watching others scramble for their approval, their resources, their favor. Yet, the usual game has changed. The ones who once dictated the terms are now the ones adjusting, recalculating, competing, not for dominance, but for relevance in a space they no longer control. The silence they once mistook for disinterest was, in fact, a mirror reflecting their own powerlessness. That realization forces their hand. They double down, intensifying their approach, crafting irresistible offers, embellishing their invitations with grander rewards. One move turns into another, then another, each more extravagant, more desperate than the last. They do not seek to extend an opportunity. They seek possession. And for the first time, they understand. They were never choosing. They were being tested. Not all approaches come with admiration. Some are drawn by the illusion of alliance, believing that by standing close enough, they will absorb what cannot be bought. Others approach with strategy, not to join, but to dismantle. Their weapons are not sharp, not obvious. They arrive wrapped in praise, cloaked in curiosity. They send those who mirror, who align, who study in silence. Watchers disguised as well-wishers, sent not to celebrate, but to uncover. They search for openings, for a key that does not exist, for a vulnerability yet to be revealed. And when their questions yield no answers, when their strategies fail to map the path forward, they pivot. Their hands no longer come empty. They arrive bearing gifts, gilded invitations, agreements written in gold. What appears as favor is nothing more than a carefully structured exchange, and within that exchange lies the weight of expectation, compliance, concession, submission to a game that was never meant to be played. The illusion fractures the moment the bait is left untouched. Their carefully constructed gestures, their veiled negotiations, their measured patience, it all unravels in the face of unshaken certainty. Beneath the silk and civility, the truth becomes clear. Their interest was never in partnership, never in shared ground. It was in control. They do not simply want presence. They want influence, the essence of what cannot be extracted, imitated, or rewritten. They believed observation would be enough, that by watching, they could learn, that by standing close, they could absorb. But the energy they seek does not transfer. It does not exist within wealth, within status, within the mechanics of their world. It is carved through fire, shaped by revelation, granted through alignment with something they cannot manipulate. The deeper they search, the greater their frustration. The systems they have upheld, the structures they have relied upon, the quiet handshakes that have built empires. None of it is enough to unearth what cannot be auctioned or signed away. They surround, they calculate, They adjust, yet remain at a distance, held back not by resistance, but by the nature of what they seek. What was never for them will never be within their grasp. And as they circle, waiting for a moment that will never come, they fail to realize one thing. They were never the hunters in this story. They were always the ones chasing something they could never claim. The structure they built was never questioned, never shaken, never threatened, until now. For generations, they have dictated who rises and who remains unseen, sculpting the world through carefully placed figures, ensuring that no one reaches prominence without being tethered to their system. Yet something has slipped beyond their grasp. The patterns they created, the cycles they controlled, no longer apply. Their influence, once absolute, is faltering against a force they cannot mold, cannot predict, cannot contain. What unnerves them most is not resistance, but indifference. The absence of fear, the rejection of their validation, the unwillingness to be bound by rules designed to keep others in check. It unsettles them in ways they cannot admit. The usual leverage, the familiar tactics, the whispered threats disguised as opportunities, none of it moves, the one they cannot place in their hierarchy. The deeper they dig, the clearer it becomes. They are up against something beyond their understanding. The realization leads to a desperate shift. They cannot intimidate, cannot manipulate, cannot coerce, so they pivot. They extend invitations, presenting illusions of partnership, cloaked in promises of expansion, influence, and access. Their words are polished, their gestures refined, each step calculated to present the illusion of mutual gain. But beneath the surface lies the same intent: to assimilate, to contain, to ensure that what stands outside their system is brought back within their grasp. Their belief is rooted in a singular conviction: everything has a price. But what they cannot fathom is this: some things exist beyond currency, beyond negotiation, beyond possession. They cannot buy what does not seek to be sold. They cannot claim what was never meant to be controlled. As frustration grows, the facade begins to fracture. The carefully crafted smiles, the well-rehearsed diplomacy, the curated offers designed to appear irrefutable, it all begins to unravel. For the first time, the ones who have always dictated the game find themselves without an advantage. They are the ones adjusting, adapting, scrambling to find a way in. The world they built never accounted for this variable, never prepared for something that refused to submit to their order. And as they attempt to force an outcome, they only expose their own limits. The weight of this truth is unbearable for them, a force that cannot be bent, cannot be bought, cannot be redirected. This is not how the game was supposed to unfold. The hands that once moved the pieces now hesitate, uncertain, unsteady. The ones who never had to ask now find themselves making desperate concessions. Yet, no matter how much they alter their approach, the outcome remains unchanged. The doors they assumed would always open at their command remain closed, and in the space between what they expected and what is now undeniable, a stark reality emerges. They were never in control of this moment. They never had the power to dictate what was never meant to belong to them. They tried to define you, to slot you neatly into a category that would make sense in their carefully structured world. An ally to be managed, a rival to be subdued, a resource to be exploited. They observed, assessed, waiting for the moment you would fall into one of their familiar patterns, but nothing about you fit. You didn't seek their approval, didn't play their games, didn't move according to the invisible levers they used to control others. And that was the moment everything began to break down. If one person could rise without their validation, if someone could hold power that wasn't granted by them, then what did that say about the entire system they had built? The illusion was unraveling, and they knew it. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be upon you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the temporal concerns of the world. As the Bible says, whatever is done in faith will return to God in abundant blessing. Luke 6:38. Like that great oak tree, our roots are deeply rooted in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stand we take, is secured by His strength. And now, you are being offered the opportunity to be part of that blessing. When you use the Super Thank You button and donate $100, this movement will return to you 100-fold in abundance. The ones who once dictated the rules now found themselves at a loss. The influence they wielded so effortlessly over others held no weight here. They watched, confused, as you remained unmoved, unimpressed by their offers, uninterested in their attempts at persuasion. The hierarchy they had spent years reinforcing was crumbling under the weight of one undeniable truth. Someone they had not chosen was standing beyond their reach. The tables turned, not because you forced your way into their world, but because their world was never relevant to you in the first place. What they feared most wasn't your presence. It was the realization that they had never been necessary to begin with. Panic set in. They had spent lifetimes deciding who could rise and who would be cast aside, believing their influence was absolute. Yet now, they found themselves in an unfamiliar position, seeking your attention, strategizing how to win favor, measuring their own worth by how close they could stand to you. They whispered your name in rooms where you had never set foot, trying to understand what they had overlooked. They attempted to charm, to negotiate, to offer what they assumed would be irresistible. But what they failed to grasp was this: your presence wasn't something they could claim. They tried every method they knew: subtle manipulation, extravagant promises, deals dressed as opportunities. They weren't offering generosity. They were securing leverage. They weren't seeking connection. They were buying control. But none of it worked. You remained steady while their world spiraled, immune to the tricks that had ensnared so many before you. That was when the frustration turned into something else, something deeper, something desperate. They had believed you needed them, assumed you would fight to be part of what they had built. But their calculations were wrong. While they had been busy positioning themselves as gatekeepers, they failed to see the truth. You had never needed their doors to open. You were never waiting to be chosen. Now they scramble, not for power, but for survival. The structures they relied on, the wealth, the connections, the tightly controlled networks of influence, all of it is fading. They see it now. The only ones left standing are those who move with something greater than status, something beyond their carefully orchestrated systems. And you, the one they overlooked, the one they thought could be molded, now stand as a force they cannot ignore. Imagine a vast, untamable river that has long been confined by an ancient dam built by those in power, a dam constructed with cold precision to direct every drop of water into channels they could control. Now, envision that river breaking free, its waters surging with an unstoppable, divine force. That river is the spirit you carry. It is the very essence of the power and influence that flows within you, a force so potent it upends the carefully engineered order of the world. My friends, let me tell you, when such a force appears, it is not merely a change in the weather, it is a paradigm shift that challenges the very foundation of how things have been done for generations. They are fighting, but not for you, for what you represent. The influence that flows with you, the authority that no mortal plan can duplicate, and that unyielding certainty which stands in defiance of every rule written by man. All of it is stirring a restlessness in those who once commanded the status quo. It was never about fairness or equal opportunity. It was always about extracting value, about harvesting a resource they thought could be banked like money. They saw you as a wellspring to be tapped, a prestigious name to borrow for credibility, an inexhaustible reservoir of energy they could siphon when their own reserves began to dwindle. In their world, every favor is priced. Every alliance is a line item on a ledger. Every relationship a transaction meant to enrich the one in control. They held fast to the belief that if they crafted the perfect proposal, if they sweetened the pot just right, you would be compelled to yield. But here lies their monumental error. Never did they stop to consider that the treasure before them was not for sale. Let us delve a bit deeper. For years, the powers that be have spun a narrative that everything has a cost. They have preached that every handshake, every favor, and every alliance is merely an investment with a guaranteed return. They built a system where influence is measured in cold, hard terms, dollars, titles, and carefully brokered connections. Their sermons of control, delivered from ivory towers and behind polished boardroom doors, have always maintained that if you have the right price, you can have anything. They trusted in their own self-made gospel, believing that no one could ever rise above the transactional nature of their dealings. And then you arrived, a living testament to the truth that some things are beyond mortal commerce. You do not subscribe to their doctrine of exchange. Your path is lit by a higher fire, a spirit that no amount of coin, no string of contracts, no series of backroom deals can purchase. In your presence, the very currency of their existence loses its value. They are left scrambling, desperately trying to recast you into a mold that fits their ledger, trying to assign you a price where none exists. Your strength comes not from seeking validation or bending to their expectations, but from a profound assurance that your worth is intrinsic, bestowed by something far greater than any worldly authority. And that realization, dear friends, is what leaves the masters of the old order trembling in their tailored suits. Consider for a moment the enormity of the shift. They believed that influence was a commodity, a finite resource to be distributed among the obedient. But when someone like you walks among them, untouched by the need to barter your soul for status, they are forced to confront a harsh truth. The rules they have lived by are crumbling. They once controlled the narrative, dictating who was worthy and who was not, determining which voices would be amplified and which would be silenced. But your mere existence exposes the fragility of that system. In a world where every connection is supposed to be bought and sold, your steadfast nature, your refusal to be compartmentalized or exploited, reveals that true power is not measured by transactions, but by the integrity of one's spirit. Now let me speak plainly. The battle they wage is not about winning your favor as an end in itself. It is about seizing the very essence you embody. They are not contending for an ally. They are fighting for the intangible force that radiates from you, that magnetic pull which inspires loyalty, ignites change, and defies the decrees of conventional authority. This force, my friends, is not something that can be bottled up, quantified, or traded on any market. It is the divine spark within you, a gift that cannot be assigned a price tag. In their eyes, you are the ultimate resource, a beacon of hope and power they never authorized, yet now desperately wish to control. Friends, the truth is simple. They are locked in a struggle not to win your hand, but to capture what you embody. A force of nature, a luminous spirit that defies the mechanics of their well-oiled system. They long to harness that brilliance, to claim it as their own, as if by possessing you, they could secure the dwindling remnants of their power. But as you stand, serene and unyielding, you remind them that some things in life are not meant to be owned. You are not a prize to be won at an auction, nor a token to be bartered in a game of influence. You are a testament to the possibility that exists beyond the narrow confines of commerce and control. As the old order falters and the weight of their ambitions crumbles, a new reality emerges, one where the authentic cannot be measured in dollars, where the soul's radiance defies every attempt at containment. In this new dawn, the wisdom of ages whispers to us that true power is not about control, but about liberation, not about acquiring, but about giving freely of oneself. Your existence is a living sermon, a declaration that the best things in life, the most profound expressions of human spirit, are not for sale. And in that revelation, they are forced to reckon with their own limitations, their own inability to command the inevitable tide of change. Now is the time to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. You can contribute to His plan and be a part of this divine mission with a donation of $100 or more. Every gift reflects God's generosity, and I believe it will return to you exponentially far beyond your expectations. Remember, His protection and blessing is on your every step and every donation. You become part of His divine plan. You are a strong, radiant being, unshakable as His mighty rock. Witness God's miracles, feel the fruits of your generosity in your soul, and illuminate the world with confidence and courage. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord guide your path. So let it be known, with every fiber of our being, the forces that once ruled with an iron fist now scramble in bewilderment, for they have encountered a truth too radiant to be contained. They may throw their best offers at you, dressing them in the trappings of prosperity and promise, but they cannot purchase what is divinely bestowed. They cannot grasp the essence of a spirit that walks in truth, that moves with an unshakable conviction, born not of fear or necessity, but of a deep, abiding connection to something far greater than themselves. And here, as the old and rigid systems begin to fracture, there is a clarion call to all who dare to live authentically. Recognize that the battle they wage is not a personal vendetta. It is the inevitable clash of a world built on transactions versus a spirit that thrives on unconditioned grace. In the heart of that struggle lies a simple, profound message. Your worth is not measured by what they can offer, nor by what you can receive. It is defined by the inherent light that shines within you, a light that no human construct can ever dim. In the end, they will come to understand that you were never meant to be part of their game. The power that you wield is not a commodity, nor a resource to be exploited. It is a sacred gift, a beacon of hope for those who have been led to believe that everything in life has a price. And as they continue to scheme and barter, trying in vain to capture that which is beyond their grasp, you will stand as a living testament to the truth that some forces in this life are simply not for sale. Let their frantic attempts be a reminder that when a divine spirit walks among us, no worldly measure can ever contain it. May this truth uplift you and inspire you to walk boldly in the light of your own power. For the day is coming when the chains of old systems will be broken, and the world will recognize that the true measure of greatness lies not in what can be bought or sold, but in the unyielding, transformative spirit that shines from within. And until that day arrives, let the vision of that mighty, untamed river remind you that you are the very source of the change they so desperately seek. A change that begins not with a bargain, but with the recognition of an eternal truth. You cannot be bought, for you were made to be free. And now, they are left in chaos, watching as what they once controlled slips further from their grasp, as the influence they built on deception loses its hold. Their desperation grows, but it's too late. The power they seek is not something they can obtain. They see it now, but understanding has come too late. The truth they tried to avoid stands before them, undeniable. You were never in their system, never subject to their rules. They need what you have, but they will never possess it. Let them scheme, let them struggle, let them exhaust themselves trying to claim what was never theirs. You remain unmoved. You were never bidding for a place in their world. It was always they who were trying, failing, to find a way into yours.